I'm here today on Steve Marsh's farm at Kinnear in Western Australia. It's my second visit to this farm, and it's been very interesting to talk with Steve about this case, his feelings about this case, the impact on his life. It's a pivotal case for the organic industry in Australia. North American organic industry is unfortunately suffering from contamination of GM into their organic production systems. They have taken the unprecedented move in North America of banding together to litigate against Monsanto, asking that Monsanto will not sue them, will give a commitment not to sue them for contamination that's found on their organic farms. That's nothing short of perverse, really. And that's the reality. Contamination is widespread on organic farms, and they are worried about Monsanto suing them for patent infringement on their organic farms. Monsanto refused to give that commitment when they were approached that they would not sue organic farmers for patent infringement. So they then are litigating against Monsanto, seeking for the court to order that Monsanto not sue organic farmers. That, as I said, that's perverse. We don't want that to happen in Australia. Since the 1990s, late 1990s, as the founding chair of the Organic Federation of Australia, I represented the organic industry on this issue. The putting of legislation into the Federal Parliament, the Gene Technology Act, I lobbied all parties, helped prepare amendments. Some of those amendments to the legislation got up, some did not get up. The right for states to opt out and to declare state-based moratoria did get into the legislation, and that's where we saw a prohibition of GM planting in Australia for many years following the passage of that legislation in 2001. Then when we had a change of Premier in Victoria from Steve Bracks to John Brumby, we saw an inquiry with Sir Gustav Nossal which looked into economic impacts and found no alleged economic impacts. The moratorium was lifted in Victoria. Following a change of Premier in New South Wales, with Bob Carr handing over the reins to his next in line, we saw again a lifting of the New South Wales moratorium following Victoria. Then in 2010 we saw a change of government in Western Australia, and the Liberal National coalition here lifting the moratorium in Western Australia. What has happened with Steve was inevitable. It was bound to happen that GM contamination would occur on an organic or a non-GM farm at some point, and it has happened here on this farm in Kinnear, Western Australia. It's a real shame that it's happened, that it's come to this. The legislation did not have any statutes that required strict controls on GM farmers, did not require precise registers of where plantings occurred, GPS locations, size and so forth. It did not require buffer zones beyond a voluntary system of 5 metres, which we believe is a complete joke and is something that has in part led to the contamination of Steve's farm. This is a real issue in Australia right now. It's an issue that everyone who cares about the purity of food needs to get on board and help defend. We have to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars now to pay for the disbursements in Steve's case. Slater and Gordon have agreed to represent Steve under their public interest policy. I wish I could say that extended to all of the other costs in running the case. We need to get expert witnesses from around the world. We need to pay for the best barristers that we can find in Australia to work on this case. That's very expensive. But what is at stake is the future of food. And if you do care about clean food, if you do care about pure food, if you care about buying organic food that's not contaminated with GM, then we ask for your support. We need your support. Steve is a passionate, committed farmer, and as a retailer of organic foods, many of my customers, in fact all of them I'm sure, are passionate, committed buyers of food. They want clean, pure foods, and it's critical at this stage in the debate in Australia that we stand up and be counted. It's do or die. We roll over, that's it. We will be contaminated. Why is this so critical at this time in the evolution of GM crops? One of the most compelling reasons I can give you is that there is a body of evidence building to show harm being caused from GM foods. In laboratory study, after laboratory study, after laboratory study, harm is being shown. Animals are having disease being brought about as a result of consuming GM foods. They're having difficulty in breeding, so it's affecting fertility levels. There's very significant and real research looking into harm caused by Roundup residues. One of the issues with the type of technology in use on Steve's neighbour's farm and the GM canola is that it's resistant to the use of Roundup. So that leads to high residues of Roundup in our food chain. These Roundup-ready GM crops leads to high residues of Roundup in our food chain. And that is of concern because scientific research coming through in the last couple of years has shown that very low levels of Roundup, the sorts of levels that is persistent and present in groundwater, in drinking water in Europe, in groundwater in America, which people also drink, is causing harm in laboratories to mammalian tissue. It's affecting the reproductive systems of laboratory animals. This is of serious concern to us, and we should be across the globe jumping up and down about not only the use of Roundup, but the use of it in these GM production systems which are Roundup ready. And of course there's other systems by other companies that are resistant to other herbicides, GM systems as well, that we need to be concerned about because it leads in those same areas to increased use of herbicide. So if you care about foods, if you care about the food that you eat 3 times a day, if you care about the food that you feed your children, if you care about future generations coming down the line after you, stand up and be counted. It's time to stand up. It is time to stand up to support Steve and Sue, who are putting their lives on the line, putting their farm on the line, and they could lose this case. We're going to fund the cost of running the case, but we haven't been able to and make a commitment or to fund, obviously, what happens if this case is lost. They are putting their farm on the line. It's a very critically important issue. We ask you to help us out at this critical time. This case will run over the period of time of 2012 and into 2013 most likely. So yeah, it's my heartfelt request that you stand up and be counted. If you're in the organic industry, if you're a farmer, if you're a processor, you're a distributor, if you're a retailer of organic foods, stand up and be counted and assist this fundraising effort for this case. If you're a consumer of organic foods and you care about that, stand up and be counted. If you're a non-GM farmer, this issue is about GM versus non-GM. It's not organic versus GM. It is about the rights, coexistent rights of any farmer who wants to be GM free. So stand up and be counted, because if this case is won and the legal advice that we have says that we have good prospects in this case, if this case is won, then we will be protecting the rights of non-GM farmers just as importantly as the rights of organic farmers.